whether you're from Yale or from jail, we want to help.
I like that.
We want to help you all and help you be the best you can be, body, mind, and spirit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talking Health with Health Solutions, a podcast that is focused on not only the behavioral, but also the physical side of health. This podcast is being brought to you by Health Solutions, a nonprofit organization that has been serving the Pueblo and surrounding areas for over 60 years. And on today's episode, we have award-winning physician, Dr. Bryan Hynes. Thank you so much, Dr. Hynes, for being here with us today. We really appreciate you being here.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. This is Talking Health with Health Solutions. I'm Madison Alfonso, and I am here with
Nancy Gonzalez, and we are your host for today's episode.
Let's go ahead and kick it off and go ahead and tell us a little bit about your role here at Health Solutions and all the things about being a physician.
So I am a family physician, board certified family physician, which is a job where you take care of people from birth all the way till death, And
Yeah.
So basically, you kind of fill many roles. We're kind of the jack of all trades. You don't necessarily specialize in anything. I've been doing this for 35 years, and so along the way, I've picked up things that I really know how to do. And here at Health Solutions, just doing outpatient family medicine, which trying to keep people out of the hospital, basically. To keep them healthy. Our goal is to help people live to be the best they can be.
Yeah,
and that's always been my goal through education, through experience, through, the shortcomings of my own and things like that. I've just learned to, really see how important that is and to share that with people. And,
absolutely.
I have the same goal as I want for every one of my patients. I want to be the best person I could be,
Yeah.
Body, mind, and spirit,
Absolutely.
And so I'm in a very good position for myself. This is really where I feel like I was meant to be.
For our viewers that probably don't know, I was talking to Dr. Hynes before we started airing, and he was just kind of talking a little bit about, what got him into this field and kind of like where he has been. And it has been really incredible to hear, Dr. Hynes, like everything that you have done.
Yes.
And I think sometimes doctors don't get that opportunity to kind of be like, oh, like this is what got me to the position I'm in, or, this is what I've done.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to give you that open floor to talk about what got you into family medicine. Like what?
Right. From birth, really, when I was 5 years old, we were at the University of Colorado in Denver. My cousin was getting a liver transplant,
Wow.
And as we were driving through this, where it says University of Colorado, I told my mom, I'm going to be a doctor, and
that's cool.
I've ever since then, it's been on my heart, so, yeah, knowing that, right, and knowing how to get there is you got to work hard, right? So I've worked hard all my life. I've always had good grades and things like that. And just always driven to do that. And so, it just came true. I actually went to medical school there and trained at the University of Colorado, same place where my cousin had a liver transplant. She was the fourth person ever to get a liver transplant.
Wow.
That's really cool.
And so that was my beginnings. And, being from Pueblo, it's hard to leave. And I was a poor kid from Pueblo. So actually I had a scholarship to medical school with public health service. I was in the National Health Service Corps. And I came back home to do my residency at St. Mary Corwin, which was awesome. I loved it. It was, being at home. I knew everybody. And then not only that, my mom worked there. She worked in the operating room. She was a scrub nurse in the operating room. And it was, just really cool. And but knowing that I had this scholarship, I had to pay back time. I had to work somewhere rural for the public health service, and so my life was kind of directed that way. And by the grace of God, I got a position in Rocky Ford, La Junta, and Los Animas at La Clínica del Valle. I was the community health center there. When I went there, I did whole spectrum family medicine. I delivered the babies. I took care of the newborns, and I did all the hospital work. I did all the rounds, working for the federal government. So I had 7 physician's assistants under my supervision, and that was in Colorado, you're only supposed to do 2, but because it was a federal clinic, I could do more.
Wow.
Wow.
I had a special privilege to do that. So I supervised 7 PAs, and we had a really busy practice. I was the only doctor there, too, for a while. I stayed longer than I had to. I only owed 3 years. I ended up staying for five years, actually. And it was a blast. I learned how to do everything. And I spent a lot of nights at the hospital. I'd round on 20 people in the hospital and then come to the clinic and see 40 people. So all that experience, just coming out of residency, and plus back when I was a young doctor in training, and family medicine was, I think, probably trained differently then. We did everything. We did surgeries, we did things like that. So I think I got a really great, well-rounded experience. During that time, I worked in the ER a little bit too in La Junta, the hospital in La Junta, and I finished my time with the government. I went there and did that for 10 years, actually. And then, subsequent to that, I came back home to Pueblo. From there, worked for Dr. Ramos, actually, for a little while. Michael Ramos, who was wonderful, and he did everything. And then I took a new job at what's called Skincare Now, which was a primary care skincare clinic and family medicine. So I did family medicine there, but I also did dermatology, not specialized by any means, but I got to learn a lot about dermatology.
Yeah.
And then subsequent to that, I went into practice at Champions. It was called Champions Family Medical, working for some men that owned it. And then at the very end, I actually purchased the clinic. I owned it for the last year and decided that wasn't for me. And by the grace of God, I knew Heather. She's a real good friend of mine. And she said, "Doc, you want a job, man?" And so it was a God thing. And so I was always wanted to come here and work, honestly. Being a poor kid from Pueblo, growing up without insurance, things like that, I was always wanting to, just help people that in need. That was kind of, it's always been on my heart,
Yeah.
That's what I did at La Clinica. I did that in the ER. In private practice, I probably did too, because I saw anybody, even if they didn't have money, especially when I owned it, I could do it for free. And so I did all that kind of stuff. And then, now I'm here where I'm supposed to be. And it's wonderful. I get to practice, outpatient medicine, which is wonderful. I don't have to go to the hospital and do rounds, which is wonderful. I get to see my family. It's just very rewarding, very rewarding. And I think, it's a big corporation, but just underlying that, there's just some basic principles, that we want to just help people, anybody, whether you're from Yale or from jail, we want to help.
I like that.
We want to help you all, and just, love you and help you be the best you can be, body, mind, and spirit, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of it's been more or less kind of the pinnacle of my career to be able to be involved in, this type of integrated healthcare, and so it's been wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have a lot of experience under your belt, it sounds like, and had opportunity to work in many different places, but you began to touch on it a little bit. And I just want to ask you, what makes Health Solutions different, and why is it so great here for you?
First of all, it's, nonprofit. And so that is a motivating factor for many people, right? Whether profit or not. And of course, we have to pay the bills, but, we really try to help people, and, we always try to find a way, if somebody in need and things like that. Even doing this for 35 years, seeing family medicine patients, it's body, mind, and spirit, and every single person I see, has a mental health diagnosis, and to have experts in the field, right here with us. Now we have Dr. Conklin working with us, who's a psychiatrist. Man, it's crazy. Really, when I look back on my life, I never have had that opportunity to have a psychiatrist I could call and, ask for help and things like that with. And and then, then on only that, I have Dr. K, who's an internist and has been a hospitalist and, addiction specialist and all that. And so I can ask him for help too. So it's been really cool to have that. And then, the people I work with obviously is a wonderful thing. They've become a family. There's been lots of changes. Just people coming and going, and this, that, and the other. But what's happened is that the result is a group of people that work there that all have the same mindset, that all have the same heart, that care for one another, that love one another. I mean, that's probably the greatest thing, is that we have a family.
Yeah.
And everybody cares about the people we take care of.
And you've kind of dabbled into a little bit of everything, which makes you this great physician that you are today, is because you have been able to work in, the ER, and have been able to take care of infants and people in their maybe last breath. So you really have like this plethora of knowledge that has, like I said, gotten you to where you are today.
Right. Yes.
Over the years, because you've been practicing for 35 years, what are some trends or maybe some health concerns that you have seen change?
Oh gosh, so many changes. So many different things have happened in medicine over the years. And I've been right there with it all. Medications, even from when I first started practicing medicine, that weren't even available, like metformin. As a young doctor, that was a new medicine. I could remember the drug rep, detailing me on it and things like that. And then there's other meds that have come along that have been wonderful that are no longer with us, and so those things have changed. Medicine, used to be separate. Back in the day when I first came, I mean, you had your psychiatrist here, you had your family doc here, this, that, and the other. It was compartmentalized more so. Here is kind of groundbreaking, trend setting, because we're all here together, and it's been, I think, probably somewhat of a growing experience for everybody. I don't think that all the behavioral health people have been around medical people before, and vice versa. And so we really did know what happens in their environment, in their realms. And so now seeing it all together, it's given us maybe understanding, compassion, realizing that we're all important together to help take care of things. Whereas before we were. So we didn't really see that, behavioral health is really important, things like that. Even though we took care of it in our clinics and things like that, to have a counselor in the clinic there is like amazing. I think, breaking down those walls that have separated everything and brought it together with integrated healthcare here it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. I think that's great for our community. I think people are going to find it. I think they're going to see, wow, this is really a neat place. And it's everybody's welcome. And that's the cool thing too. So
you were recently voted best general family physician in Pueblo, and it's not your first time that you were voted best in Pueblo for that. What would you say the key is to building strong connections with your patients?
Come through lots of years of experience, right? And and then also, I think the biggest thing is just caring. Just caring, and taking the time to go the extra mile for them and things like that. I think it's important. I feel kind of obligated to do that. I don't want. I mean, it's my responsibility to make sure they're well taken care of. I learned that early on in medicine. Back when I was a young doctor, I had to take care of the guys in the hospital too. So in the middle of the night, if they called, I had to get them go over there, and I did that for years, and I just couldn't say, no, I ain't coming, things
Tired.
like that. Yeah, tired and dragging and hadn't slept for days and things like that. Still made it, still called when they called the phone, still loved them through it, tried not to be grumpy, right?
I don't know that I could even picture you grumpy, Dr.
Right?
Hynes.
Yeah, it's rare. Yeah, it's rare. But, those types of things, and really caring. And then also trying to be the best doctor I could be, I study all the time. Every single day I read journals. I read the newest, the headlines of medicine always, I study those things and try to keep as up to date as I can, and it's been awesome, and as a family doc, we have to take our board certification, every so many years, and so I just took it, last year, and I've scored really, amazingly high on it because of all the years of experience I, do and have had, and also the habits I got along the way of studying, lifelong learning, and I encourage that for all people. And I think here, all my colleagues have that same mindset. constantly they're sharp, and it's just cool to see.
Yeah, it makes you stay with also your education as well too,
Right.
Because you're just like,
We're
dang.
encouraged.
Yeah.
We encourage each other.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think for many of our viewers, Dr. Hynes was just telling me off air is that he speaks Spanish too. So I think that that's another thing too that, as Madison said, what has kept you in this trajectory of being award winning. And I think it's also the ability of not even just even being that kindness, but even be able to deliver a service in multiple languages,
Right.
which is really hard to do. So I think that is something also too.
Right. Well, and actually that was a little gift that I got along the way when I was at La Clinica working. I was the migrant health doctor, and much better at speaking Spanish then than I am now. So I want to clarify that. But I can understand that. And then also, my wife's Hispanic. I grew up in a Hispanic family. I love them, man. I'm one of the brothers, man. And so my mother-in-law and father-in-law spoke Spanish all the time. All the relatives too.
Wow.
So that was, we had to kind of pick it up along the way too. So it was awesome, and to have that, and I wished I could do better. I really, honestly, now, something that you have to practice, I would say.
Yeah, definitely do.
But the great thing about here is we have backup. We have our little guys that speak Spanish all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And in our clinic, we have several people that do, and they're wonderful. It's wonderful to have that help us all do that too. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, the great thing is that I do have a little understanding of that, multiple language there, and especially for our area, where we have a lot of Spanish-speaking folks too.
Yeah, Dr. Hynes, on that, because you have had this, over 30 years of experience, what are some medical myths that you've seen that you kind of want to debunk? Like maybe some of the common ones that you're just like, oh, absolutely not. Don't believe those things.
Right.
Is there any that you've seen or that you're just like?
There's so many now. And with social media, right? They come out with a new thing every single day. And one of the things that I've noticed just reading myself, of course, and my wife's she's like a doctor at home, and she always shares with me things too. The herbal treatments, the things like that, they're not all what they're meant up to be. They really aren't. There's certain ones that are helpful. When it comes down to it, honestly, eating a beautiful food from the earth diet, that has all the nutrition in it, is just as good as taking any supplements and things like that. In fact, probably better because we're that's what our body was made to digest and things like that. I was actually a young doctor before the menopause thing where it came out where that, could cause cancer and all those kind of things. And we gave it to everybody, a hormone replacement therapy for females especially. And that it was wonderful. People, they loved it, and then that came out and just stopped it like suddenly. And it was like, wow, and then now it's kind of slowly coming back. And honestly, I think that it is wonderful, honestly, in most cases. And, working together, with doctor and patient and talking it out and making a joint decision on how to do it and things like that. And then just seeing the results, treating we treat the patient,
Right.
There's medical science, but not everybody follows the book, You treat the patient and kind of see how their symptoms are. That's a very good way to approach it. Even though we have this baseline knowledge and understanding, it's not, a lot of the studies show that, some things benefit, but it's only like 60% or what have you or whatever, but that becomes kind of the way we do medicine. Not everybody benefits from that,
Right.
And so you have to really remember to treat the patient always. So there's a lot of things like that in medicine I've noticed along the way too.
Speaking of social media and trends, we're kind of seeing a trend of the GLP-1 for weight loss, and we now offer that at Family Medicine downstairs.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the GLP-1 and using that medication for weight loss?
Well, I think that, so in medicine, we learn things. Some things are amazing, and I think this is one of those amazing ones, because it's been part of our bodies. It's actually made in our body, and it's part of our hormone, metabolism, and it's the only problem is that GLP-1 doesn't stick around too long, right? So when we eat, it's secreted. It happens that it's actually digested in about 5 minutes, in our bodies. So coming up with something that is very similar acting, which GLP-1, right, semaglutide and tirzepatide, so it actually doesn't get broke down by our own body's enzymes and things like that. So it's actually longer acting in that, and it's made a difference. Things that it does is it shuts down, it tells us we're full. It slows down how food empties our gastric emptying so that we feel full. It helps our pancreas work better. It helps our cells work better. So with all that happening, it's turned out that it's been a wonderful drug. They've studied it, in patients with heart disease. It's indicated for people for heart disease over the age of 65. They've studied them for sleep apnea. Actually, it helps people get off the CPAP. And a lot of that is weight loss, I would say, too. But there are some unique, I think, probably characteristics of the molecules. Where one maybe does stuff a little bit better than the other one as far as your health goes. The kidney function is benefited. You use it in kidney disease as well. And so all of these things have come to light since we've started using it. Do we know everything? No. Do we know the complications of it? We're learning. They're coming to light. There's one about vision that has come out. Might affect our vision a little bit. It's very rare. A lot of these things that or side effects that come to light are just extremely rare, and so weighing the risk and the benefit, losing 100 pounds versus, a little tiny risk of, having some vision loss, usually it comes to light and then you stop the medicine. That's the way I would look at it,
Yeah.
But losing 100 pounds is huge. One of these little articles that I've read about weight loss, this was years ago, it's probably about 15 years ago, was that any weight loss prolongs your life, So if you lose 5 pounds, even if you gain it back, it's going to prolong your life,
Wow.
And so that was a medical study, and it's always stuck with me,
Yeah.
So we got to always keep trying,
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, though, are genetically bigger. We're just made this way. And we can't overcome that real easily, and that'll actually declare itself too. So I have people on GLP-1 that lose a certain amount, and they kind of get to a plateau and they don't lose a whole lot more. They stay there, but it's still healthier than what they were before. And that's probably just the way God made them, that's where they're at, So that's kind of the way I look at those types of things too, and so it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful, and I think it's a great service that we offer here.
Has there been a patient that you've encountered that kind of taught you something or maybe changed the perspective of how you look at medicine, or maybe just had an impact in your life to where you're just like, I think about that person?
Oh, gosh. I mean, there's many of them, many of them. And, I mean, it's, just to describe many miracles I've seen, many people that have had cancer and, overcome. I have several little people here in the clinic that I follow who had cancer all over their body, and we're talking 10 years later, 5 years later now here at Health Solutions, but I was their doc before. They don't have it, and it's absolute miracle, so those are very impactful, the things that can happen that we can do. I've had people lose lots of weight, 100, 200 pounds, and just transform their life, even to physically recognize the difference. Sometimes you'll see them, it's like, wow, I don't even recognize you, Oh, this is a great one. People that have been addicted, and have, their lives have changed because of that, right, for the negative. To see them climb out of that has been an absolute miracle. And actually, I can testify to that for myself because I've been there myself. Having gone through that, like as a patient, it transformed my life. I see, I have a whole different perspective for, that type of stuff, just disease in general,
Right.
There's always hope, and that the fact is that one of the things I really think is that, we're made to be the best we can be, body, mind, and spirit, so being able to walk in that, I try to help people just walk in that. They're champions, all the little gifts and talents that you have are amazing, we just have to find a way to just walk in them and to be the best we can be and to do positive things, eat like a champion, exercise like a champion, get good rest, don't put poison in your body, things like that. And So those are all the things that have really, made an impact. I mean, I've had people that have died that like, wow, life-changing people, how they fought the battle to live and things like that. That was just like, wow, man, that's some courage, man, strong and courageous. And to see that, and then to see, some of the little things that I've battled personally that are so insignificant, it maybe really, changed my perspective. And I know for people, I could share some of those testimonies with them, and even my own testimony, and to see, look, man, you could do better, man, and so it's motivating. It's actually medicine, it's medicine.
Yeah.
It's medicine for people. So there are so many things, there's so many things.
Nice. Well, Dr. Hynes, thank you so much for being on this podcast with us today. I think that we've learned so much about you and, more about medicine and some of the new kind of like medication that's coming up and that's becoming popular. And, but before we let you go, we like to do a round of like some rapid fire questions. So these are just questions that you need to answer on the spot.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yes.
Okay.
Honestly. Well, first thing that comes to mind, and I always tell all our guests that this is either going to make you or break you. This is going to make you either continue the award-winning physician that you are, or people are going to be like, is that who I voted for the best physician? So the first question is, does pineapple go on pizza?
For some folks.
But what?
That's a very
That is a really good
answer.
Not for me.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. Well, we have the first no. Up until now, all of our prior guests have always said yes. And I'm like, heck yeah. And
I'm more of a jalapeno kind of guy.
I agree with you.
and
Green
jalapeno.
chilies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
That one
Okay.
I don't know.
It can be with buns, so, but you can
Yeah.
eat it without a bun too. So
I guess I
But
need to
the way-
define what a sandwich is.
Right.
What is a sandwich?
Yeah.
2 pieces of bread and something in between,
Hey, if the
When you
doc
put it
said-
like that,
right? And that's the way I always eat it too. So I usually have it with bread.
Yeah. Well, if Dr. Hynes is a sandwich, then it's a sandwich. I'm not going
Yeah.
to argue with that. Dr. Hynes, one more thing. What is a mental health tip that you live by?
That this soon shall pass, no matter what we're going through, even if it just seems like the end of the world, it generally passes and we get better, And I've been there myself, I've, thought of death, all those things like we do as humans, when we're going through
Right.
tough times, but it passes. And I think it does it for everybody, In fact, just witnessing in medicine, and mental health and things like that, it does get better, and to bring voice to our feelings is a big part of that. And that's what we get to do here, with our counselors and things like that.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's all part of the healing. Bringing voice to the feeling is part of the healing,
Yes. Absolutely, Dr. Hynes. And again, thank you so much for being on this podcast. And we hope that we can continue to have you back on as a
Yes,
guest and
I
talk
would.
more about this, because I think that I've learned so much about you. And I think that it just brought up more questions for me. I'm like, I want to ask him this, but
I
we'd
think
be
we
here all
just
day.
Got the first layer. I think there's lots of layers
Yeah.
to Dr. Hynes for sure.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, this is Talking Health with Health Solutions. If you or someone you know is struggling with a mental health crisis, please don't hesitate to reach out to 988. You can also walk into our crisis walk-in center at 1310 Chinook Lane, and you can also contact us directly at 719-545-2746. Appreciate all of you, and until next time, Talking Health with Health Solutions.